Hey everybody, it's John with Vermont Homesteader, and this is a sink full of kale that I picked today out in the garden. And a lot of people want to know what to do with your kale because it's pretty prolific. You can't freeze it all or can it all or eat it all with your salads. And for space, canning, freezing, and then really how good is kale once you take it out of the freezer. But so what I do is I take it off the plant. I pull the older leaves. I mean, some newer ones too, but the older leaves off the plant. And I wash them because, as you can see, there's grass and probably some bugs and other stuff. And I wash it, I put it in a bowl, and then I dehydrate it. And it gets really crispy, crunchy, and then you can put it in the little grinder and grind it up, and it forms a powder. And then that powder has all the nutrients of this actual kale leaf. If you were to eat it raw, you haven't lost any of the nutrients because you haven't done anything to it but taken the water out. And you can spread it in your soups. You can put it on meat, food, whatever. Put it in potato salad, macaroni salad, but you have kale powder. And we do the same thing with cabbage. The leaves that aren't making up the head, the cabbage head, we'll pull them off, dehydrate them as well. And that's what we're doing today. And I'm going to wash this up and then get it in the dehydrator. And just so everybody can see, as you can see, the lid says kale. And that is kale powder. That is, I don't know how many leaves that I've dehydrated and then ground up and put it in the powder. And you can spread it on whatever you want to spread it on and get all the great nutrients that kale provides you all winter long. And I'm just going to keep washing and getting ready to put it in the dehydrator. Once you get it washed, just put it on the dehydrator racks. You don't want to overlap them too much or they won't dehydrate. We're probably not going to get all the kale in here today, and so we'll throw what we don't get in here in the fridge. So this is done in 2 days, and then we'll throw the next batch in. I leave this in the dehydrator for 48 hours, and that should make it plenty dry, ready to grind and go in the jar for the winter. And there we have it, dehydrating away. On the bottom I have parsley, and then basil, and then celery, and then cilantro, and then the kale. And on the very top, you might be able to see there's some beans in there, green beans. The first four things are to grind and put away for the winter. The beans are to dehydrate and be seeds for next year. And the other dehydrator is completely full of kale. And I'll show you what we do with it when it's done dehydrating in a few days. Hey everybody, so it's been a few days and these beans have been in the dehydrator for a few days and they are hard as a rock. I don't want to touch them too much because you have moisture on your fingers. And once they're dehydrated, you just want to put them in a bag, a Ziploc bag, or you can put them in a canning jar. And then we're going to save them for next year. Bean seeds for planting next year. I have a bunch more out in the garden that weren't quite ready yet. Some of these really weren't quite ready yet either, apparently. They're just kind of too small. You really want to let the beans go until they almost dry out, but you also got to be careful not to let the beans rot. And then you just pluck the seeds out of them, dehydrate them, and get them in a bag, and then you have seed for next year. And you can do that with anything: tomatoes, peppers. I did some peppers already, some jalapenos, and now we have some green beans started, and we'll have more before the season's over, and then I don't have to buy seeds next year. Yeah, the important thing is you got to remember they got to be heirloom seeds. I buy heirloom organic seeds, and once you buy them once, if you do this year after year, you should be able to keep putting seeds in the ground without having to buy them. So now we have some cilantro that we're gonna put in the bag here and crush it up and then grind it. The reason we grind the cilantro is there's some pretty big stalk with it, and you just can't crush it all up. Now, you can take all the cilantro off the stalks if you want, but that's a lot of work. So I usually just crush it up in the bag and then grind it up in the grinder, so you're not dealing with trying to separate all the leaf material from the stalks. As you can see, it's a mess. You end up usually just wiping it off the clean table into the bag at the end. We've been doing this all summer with our herbs, and you got herbs, spices for all your cooking needs, and you don't have to go to the store to buy them. You know, anything you can do for food security, anything you can do to reduce your grocery bill. As most people know, groceries are up probably 30-40% over a few years ago. Maybe more than that. You know, it might even be up 100%. I think most people say that $100 shopping spree from 2019, 2020 now costs them, $250, $300. So that is a huge, huge uptick in cost for families. So I'm trying to avoid inflation by growing my own food and putting it up, and that includes herbs, spices. Our pantry downstairs is getting pretty full, which is great, and that's just putting up vegetables, and there's still so much more in the garden for us to do. August and September are kind of nice because there's less weeding, a lot less weeding, and a lot more harvesting. So that's pretty much what we do in August and September, is we harvest, and we get it down the basement, usually canned, some of it frozen, some of it dehydrated, like these herbs. And then in the winter, when I'm done mowing, and when I'm home most of the time, that's when I start making stuff like soups, stews, chili, and that's when we start using all this stuff. And as we get into that colder weather, I'll show you what I do all winter. Oops, should probably plug it in. This is just a little coffee grinder, this coffee grinder. They don't cost very much on eBay or Amazon, and you can use them to grind up all these herbs. Smells so good. Cilantro. There you have it. Some more cilantro powder to use for cooking this winter. And lastly, in this dehydrating session, I have all this kale. I've actually got more in the fridge that I have to put in the dehydrator. That's it. That's it for our herb and seed dehydrating and processing today. If you like this video, like, subscribe, and share. Vermont Homesteader.